Yes. When you wake up and you feel like you need a little up, when you're down and out and you need to get a little higher, if you feel like you need a blessing and you feel a little high today, welcome to the church of Cali High, Cali High, Cali High. Yo!
Welcome to Cali High episode 52, 2021, the year in cannabis, a collection of memorable quotes from our guests in the cannabis field. As Cali High starts 2022, we look back at the year that was in the cannabis industry. We talk with 3 growers, 2 people from Normal, 2 CEOs, and a fellow podcaster. We speak with Armin Peronian and Chris Koljan from LA Cannabis Company, Chia Rodriguez of Arcana Flowers, River Chai Farm, and Chaos Herbals, as well as the herb documentary Ladybuds. We speak with Nat Pennington of Humboldt Seed Company about the removal of 4 dams along the Klamath River, an incredible win for the native peoples of Northern California, as well as Northern California itself. We learn a lot from Ellen Scanlon of How to Do the Pot podcast and Peter G. of Pete's Garden. Then we also check in with Cal Normal and LA Normal's Ellen Comp and Ian Rassman about patient advocacy in a recreational cannabis California. Quite an interesting and informative episode, if we do say so ourselves. Watch it now, and please like and subscribe and leave a comment. Thank you very much. Have a great new year, folks. May it be blessed and prosperous.
The biggest win for us was Delta 8 and all the other Delta 8 THCs are not going to be allowed to be hemp derived, and if they are hemp derived, they have to go through the cannabis regulatory process.
Oh, that's cool.
So that was a big win.
Yeah,
because right now we're having a big problem with the Delta 8 THC, and the federal government has recently put out their opinion on Delta 8, and they've identified it as a control substance.
Yeah, it's an intoxicant as well,
right? So it's definitely. Well, it was a big. If you read the regs now, they only talk about Delta 9. Right.
Yeah.
No one knew about Delta 8. It's chemically engineered in laboratories, right? They turned CBD into a Delta 8. And now there's Delta 10.
The series on sex, it's 3 episodes, and it came about in kind of late fall. We were still, all of us were very much in the midst of COVID and all of the stressors that brought. And we were trying to think about something that would just be a little bit fun. And we know that women have a lot of questions about sex. And so we decided that our entire month of February was going to be all about sex. Companies are just realizing that the woman consumer is going to be an incredible person to have on your side. We know that women are ambassadors. I mean, women ask me for tips all the time, and I feel like there's just like a viral effect.
So what do you think legalization has meant for women?
Access. I think it's meant access.
Not going to creepy guys.
Yeah, and also...
guys, let me just say this. Not all of you are creepy. Okay, but there were some of you.
Definitely not.
You know who you are.
Women make 80% of household purchasing decisions.
Yeah.
And so as cannabis becomes something that is more available and women are starting to see it as an option for well-being, they now are like, okay, I can walk into Sephora and choose between 2,500 things. I should at least be able to pick between 5 or 10 at a dispensary.
We're on a pretty good path. We're picking up, multiple dispensaries every month. We have a lot of the industry has come out to support it. They understand that this is a mission of love and light. And it's really, once you pull the California state tax off of things, it actually really becomes affordable to donate products. And what we've been encouraging.
That's excellent to get the tax deduction.
Yeah. And we've been encouraging these businesses to put on an event. Like, if you're a dispensary, do a parking lot pop-up where you pop up, the brands will come and bring their tents. Maybe you get a taco truck, a little bit of entertainment. And, on a Saturday from 12 to 4 or something, you do a cannabis donation event. You target veterans or this or that.
I'm a veteran.
There you go. Thank you for your service.
Anybody wants to donate some cannabis to me?
Well, you come check out our website.
Cali High will definitely give you a full report.
Check out. So here's the funny thing, Vincent. we're actually reaching the tipping point on this, where we have more companies and brands participating than, believe it or not, veterans willing to show up and get the medicine. So,
in terms of products, though, I actually love the weed lubes. I feel like Foria makes a really excellent one. There's a company called Quim that we love. And I have endometriosis, and one of the symptoms of endometriosis can be painful sex. And so I talk to a lot of women who have pain with sex, and the weed lubes, whether they have CBD or THC, can be incredibly helpful. So that's something that has been, I hand them out to friends. I'm like, just take it.
Okay.
Tell me what you think later. And no one's given them back. No one's said no.
Well, I'm going to have to incorporate that into my arsenal. Yes, indeed. So, well, thank you for that. And how long have you been smoking weed, by the way? Last time we talked about your conversion to the Gavita LED lights, and now you're fully converted. How has the bud reflected the change?
Well, it's a lot of environmental things you have to kind of switch up. There's no heat, or there's very minimal heat. So it allows you to have stuff a little closer to the light.
Yeah.
But also you have to make up for your HVAC's running less, so you're going to have to dehumidify more, and then you dehumidify more, you can add heat. So it's about dialing that in, first of all. But then you do have, I've noticed more color, absolutely, because you can get the room, more stable climate.
Oh yeah, it was a big rainbow in there the other day.
Yeah. And also some, tighter formations, little denser buds.
Denser nuggies.
Less leafy too, because, they're... It's a result of the less heat as well. So I think it's just
is the spectrum of light broader from the LEDs?
Yes, it is. Yeah, there is a broader spectrum for sure.
These are some fucking fat indica buds, dude.
Is this the one we cut the top off? No.
No.
What is that, Petey? This is
Pineapple upside down cake.
Oh my God, that's right.
It's the best strain from your buddy.
All
his strains were great. All
is my favorite, though. I must now come and smell it again.
It's dank. It wants 2 more weeks.
It probably does.
It's only going to get 1.
We're actually going to see the dams come out, and it's going to be unprecedented. I mean,
hell yeah,
nothing like at this scale has ever happened in the world. So it's very exciting.
Are you going to be there when the first dam is taken down?
I'm definitely going to go up there, and there's 4 major ones, and so the first, the 30s, then they finished all 4 by the 60s. So when that happened, those spring run Chinook just ceased to exist up there, and they attempted to have them in hatchery form, but the river so quickly degraded because of the conditions created by these dams that the spring Chinook, which need kind of cleaner, colder water, would not survive.
I hear that we talked about it a little bit, but Mendocino is going to be classified as its own appellation, right? And
there's that Origins project happening at a little higher level than just the county. The Origins project is for California. I think it probably will eventually branch out into helping other states. I think they are doing some consultations with that. But the Origins Council is where the appellation piece comes in, and so.
And are they? Who is the Origins Council?
The Origins Council is made up of a variety of. Honestly, I think it's like 3 folks really that are running that organization. But Janine Coleman is a local from Mendocino County, and so she's on the forefront of working with with the government agencies to kind of get that normalized into the into regulation that it's like, this is really important.
Yes.
And to help them understand why, because it's just like with wine or cheese, and things that are grown in specific regions. You cannot call champagne unless it's from Champagne, right?
Right.
So
Bordeaux.
similar kind
Burgundy.
of thing with cannabis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that project is going to help us, especially with when things open up to interstate, that we will gain more notoriety. Right now, I don't think the consumer base understands the importance of appellations. They're not going to choose a cannabis in a jar because of where it's grown.
So I started doing salmon restoration. I came out to this area, to Humboldt County, in 1996 or 95 actually, but it was kind of towards the end of the year in 1995, and then pretty much by that next summer in 1996, I had started volunteering and helping with a couple different efforts, and that volunteerism led to a few different jobs. I worked for the feds for a while. I worked for the state, and then eventually I segued over. I was honored to take a job at an environmental group that kind of was able to focus more on just getting to the big issues and be more effective, I felt. And so it was great. The Salmon River Restoration Council is the name of the group.
And I'll remind you, nowhere else in the world can you donate medical cannabis. There isn't any country or state anywhere where this can be done. So this is truly a world's first program in California, and we need to hold it up as such, as an example to the rest of the country and to the rest of the world. If you're going to, I truly believe, if you're going to give out cannabis licenses to people, you should ask the people that you're giving the licenses, what are you going to do in our community? What are you going to do here in this little community? If we give you a license, are you going to help our community pick up the people that need help and assistance? Are you going to be part of that? So I really think that there should be some component of giving back for the people that give licenses, and I think that this is a great
social activity.
That actually is in place in Berkeley. Berkeley dispensaries are required to have a giveaway program, and I think Colorado might have just passed a law to allow for donations.
I remember in 2017 when MedMen announced that they had $100 million, everyone was like, whoa, they have $100 million? The next year, cannabis industry raised like $1 billion. I was like, what? $1 billion in deals happened? Now, there was $180 million in deals last week.
Right. So it's accelerating exponentially.
Billions are pouring into the industry. So it's definitely moving fast, which, yes, it's good, right, for the investors. Is it good for the product? Maybe, maybe not.
You and your husband, Jamie, have been growing for 22 years, right?
I think this is our 23rd cultivation season together.
Wow, that's amazing. So you both had cultivator fathers and grew up in Mendocino on the farms. So can you tell us?
Yeah, totally. It's slightly complicated, but so basically, we live on an intentional community currently, and my husband's father and my father were both original owners in that community back in the 70s. And so back in those days, they were guerrilla growers, really. Like, they didn't put anything out in the open sun. They hid everything, and you didn't have to grow that much in those days because the prices were so high.
Yeah, 3,500 pounds, maybe even more.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, right. Up to 5,000.
Up to $5,000 if it was like the kind, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and so you know, they didn't have what I would call like a farm. They had just like a few plants here and there, you know. So a little bit different than these
The
days.
pioneers.
But yeah, that's how we got here.
Yeah.
So I've been to all these different states and I've seen product, and there is nowhere in the world like California, as far as product variety, innovation, quality. And the thing is,
this is the world center of cannabis.
Yeah. You go and then we see it with the customers. They're coming from states that have legal weed. What are you doing here? There's weed in Colorado. What are you doing? I'm tired. Like the MSOs have already bought up all the stores there. It's like consolidating and there's no innovation. But here we have 10,000 licensees competing.
Yeah.
Right? It's a free market.
Competing against the black market too, which is the biggest.
Oh yeah.
We're competing against the black market. There's the legal market. It's the competition does make the product better.
Here are the plants that you actually tried. You trellised a little bit. What do they call it? You put it back and bent them over and put them back in the
growing
dirt.
it horizontal in the soil.
Oh my God!
As you can see, I cut this one down today, and it actually puts in roots wherever the main stem was buried. See the roots coming out of the main stem, so you get a lateral.
Originally, the main stem was down
like
here.
A hedge, huh?
Is this the first main stem?
Yeah, the main
stem's down
root
here.
is here.
I
These
see.
are the first
branches. Yeah. Is it difficult to grow 4 strains in the same room? What are the intricacies of that?
Well, it's it can be difficult. Luckily, we're set up where each strain gets its own feed. So if you need to adjust your nutrients for different strains, you can do that. Yep. There's no cross feeding. Also, they're each in their own row. We have the ability to raise and lower the lights in the trays. So if there's a vertical growth issue, we're able to dial in that section of the room. But you know, at the end of the day, the environment should be what it is. So it should be a static environment. So it's not too difficult because we're set up for it.
Yeah.
The only thing is you know, some things like to go longer, some like to go shorter. So it's kind of scheduling and planning to make sure you're not, you know, have half the room down while the other half is still going. You know, for us, we can't be wasting space like that. So that's the main issue, I think, is the longevity of certain strains.
And you told me that the GMO has a 90-day budding period, possibly.
They say you could take it 100. So
really?
I don't know. I mean, if you got that kind of time,
keep it 100, dude.
Yeah. If you have that type of time, go for it. But you know, we'll be fine with the 9 weeks.
Yeah. What is, you know, I was looking on your website and I found this little term here: Dragonfly Earth Medicine Certified Pure Certified Permaculture Farm.
Yeah, so I don't have that certification on my farm, but in Mendocino Generations, we have maybe a handful of people, maybe like 7 farms that have that certification in our group. And basically, Dragonfly Earth Medicine certification is a biodynamic, permaculture certification. And the reason why we haven't done it specifically is because you have to write a really long essay. My husband just can't get around to writing an essay ever.
Well, I'd be glad to help you. Ex-English teacher here.
But they keep asking us, why don't you guys do this? I'm like, oh, okay, someday we'll get to it. But basically it's, you know, there's some very specific things that you need to do to qualify first. And it's a little tricky because of the modern day farming practices. Sometimes you need to use things that you know might not fit into their certification, which is like a tractor, which I think they did reduce the that as a qualification because of the diesel.
Because of the diesel fuel, right? Yeah. Well, what about an electric tractor? I guess they don't make them yet, right?
Yeah, I wish. That would be cool. Maybe our upgrade will be a Tesla tractor. But yeah, so, you know, so little things like that we do implement on our farm that don't quite fit into into that. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We do have chickens and we have worms and we do our own composting. We try to make our, a lot of our own soil. We have our farm is a 10K, so it's, a lot of square footage to try to make soil, but we do a lot of hugelkultur, which is a term you'll see around, which is a German farming technique where basically you layer like logs and then you put wood chips and compost and newspaper even and straw, and then you just keep making garden lasagna, and you just layer and layer and layer, and every time you just keep adding more stuff on top throughout the season, and especially in the winter, and that produces a nice area for the microbiology to live and creates nice healthy soil. And so we do a combination of hugelkultur, native soil, and boxes on my farm. So there's a little bit of issues there with pots. They don't particularly like pots in that certification, but I think it's a great thing, especially because our whole mission with our canaflowers on my farm specifically, and most of the farmers in Mendocino generations, and really the regulations force you to grow beyond organic because the testing is so rigorous.
Absolutely.
You're very you have a very narrow spectrum of products you can use and things like that, and you have to be cautious even about the gloves you wear when you're trimming. It comes down to that. So it's really forcing people to look at all their inputs, all the things that they use on their farm, and that cannabis comes out obviously quite clean because we have the most rigorous regulations around testing than any agricultural product.
So we have to really turn our supporters out at the local level, asking for safe access to this. Consumption rooms. Now that COVID's just about over, we hope, we want to start advocating for more places where you could go and consume it in public. Because how legal is it really if you can go into a store that looks more like a bank, buy your little stash and go home and smoke it if your landlord lets you smoke it in your apartment, which a lot of cases is not true.
Or your wife.
And it's just so anathema to the whole social aspect of cannabis that we love to share it together, smoke it together. I see your Bob Marley poster, go to your reggae concert and smoke it,
Absolutely.
That's what it's about,
But the city of West Hollywood, after they put forth the first consumption lounge in the whole country, decided that they were going to implement a no smoking ban in all multi-family units. So that's condos, apartments, anything but a private house. They were going to put a smoking ban, including medical cannabis, vaping, everything. So, like what Ellen said a minute ago, can you imagine like going into West Hollywood, of which there's plenty of dispensaries, and buying your product? Now, you're not allowed to smoke it on the sidewalk. You're not allowed to be out in public with it. See, and you can't smoke it where you bought it. So if you own your own home in West Hollywood, you could go there and do it. But if you were not wealthy enough to own your own home, well, you could buy it, but you could not use it. Literally, was what was going to happen. You had no place to go use it. You'd have to leave West Hollywood and go somewhere.
Yeah, we had to fight that off in West Hollywood. West Hollywood tried to pass an ordinance like banning all smoking, including cannabis smoking, in all new apartment buildings. I think.
And you were successful in preventing that?
Yeah, but it's happening in other places.
Back to indoor growing. Can you take us through the process of taking a cut and getting it to root correctly?
Sure. So what I like to do, it depends also on you taking a cut from a mom, you're doing a top. So that's going to make the size different. Tops, you can kind of uniformly take a certain amount, but moms, you're going to be stuck with what you have. So I always like to cut off more than you need as far as the final product. That way you can trim it up to the right size. So I always like to have the top site cluster where the new growth is usually 3. You keep that bottom leaf on the last one, and then you can keep one more site, but remove that leaf, and then give yourself at least 2 or 3 inches before that first site. And when you cut it, you're going to want to cut it at as much of an angle as you can. So
diagonally?
Yeah, so you have more surface area for the root to come out of.
I see.
And what I like to do also is I like to make all my cut, if you're doing, say, 25, I like to have them all cut first and then plant them together. As soon as you plant in your medium, it will start to take on the water and it will get droopy a little faster. So if you're doing it, then cutting one and doing it, I don't recommend that. I get all your cuts ready and then plant them all at once, put the dome on.
How long do they last before they have to be put in the medium?
I mean, it's different for different cuts. You know, actually a bigger cut is going to go south quicker.
Yeah.
But you got, I mean, you know, with experience, you get pretty fast at it. So I think maybe mine are sitting there for maybe 10 minutes tops before they're planted. But it's, well, also, if you're working on getting your skills up to that level, you can always get a couple planted. You could put the dome on, finish the rest, and then put them in there as well. But yeah, just be cautious. As soon as you plant it, it's going to start taking on the water, and then it's going to possibly, but also you get a little droop once it's in the hood, it will bounce back. But then yeah, some people like to leave the hood on for a couple days before they expose it to air again. I like to take it off every day, so bang off some of the moisture off the hood. And yeah, just a little bit, let them breathe. I think that helps them root a lot faster than just leaving them.
Somebody once gave me a few clones and I did the same thing.
Yes. When you wake up and you feel like you need a little up, when you're down and out and you need to get a little higher, if you feel like you need a blessing and you feel a little high today, welcome